and welcome to Newsnight. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. It's our pleasure to have you join us today. The battle against the insurgents and terrorists of Boko Haram and other such groups in Nigeria's northeast is the focus of our discussion. My guest says the strategy now being implemented is to ensure that once overcome, terrorists are unable to resurface elsewhere and cause harm to the citizens. My guest also confirms that intelligence gathering and utilization has vastly improved in the military operations and that the military's biggest obstacle remains improvised explosive devices, IEDs, indiscriminately strewn around by the terrorists. Newsnight talks to the commander of Operation Hadin Kai, the military outfit set up to tackle insurgency in the northeast, Major General Christopher Musa. General Musa, thank you for your time. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin from the current situation that you have in Borno and its environs, especially with Operation Hadin Kai. When you took over, the name was Hadin Kai, but before that, it was known as Lafia Dole, which I'm told means peace by force. But Hadin Kai is cooperation.
Yes.
Have you been able to see
Very well.
that kind of change in your relationship with the host communities in the areas of conflict, especially against Boko Haram?
Thank you very much. We're receiving the best of support and cooperation from members of the community. I think they realize that Operation Hadin Kai is here for them. We're sincere, we're truthful, and we're very frank and focused on what we're doing. And they've seen our level of commitment. We get information as quickly as things are happening. Sometimes the challenge might probably be the way to communicate, because it's not everywhere that we have the GSM network. But as soon as they get where they can send messages across to us, they let us know. Any infringement, any activity of the insurgents anywhere within the northeast region. And we're very appreciative of that. And that has assisted us greatly in subduing the insurgents to such an extent that we have so much peace. And as I'm sure you're aware, we have over 51,000 insurgents and their family members that have surrendered to us. They're here, they're kept well, and the DDR program is being planned, and we're sure it will be successful.
Let me take you up a little bit on the insurgents that have surrendered that you mentioned now. There are those who have asked the question, are these people not posing some kind of security challenge or threat, especially because there are so many of them and you're having to keep them close to you in the theater there, pending when the decisions on the DDR, as you called it, are taken. What is the situation with them there, and how have you found the situation with keeping them with you, even though they are now disarmed?
Yeah, I think normally there will be some concern, and I'm sure I don't blame the public for that. But I just want to assure them that we are professionals, and we have done this before. We're in Sierra Leone, we're in Niger Delta, we're in other countries where we had issues of disarmament. What goes on here now is as soon as any of them is willing to surrender, he reports straight to the closest military location. The commander on ground has his troops ready. We disarm them, take over their arms, we search them, take their names and profile them. The state government have members of NIMC with them that will also take in their data. We'll put them together in the camp, and then the state government will provide transport, buses that will move them into the various camps. There are 3 camps that set up. They bring them to camp, and then we further from the camp, the state government takes care of the management and the administration. What we do is we ensure that the perimeter is secured. Nobody from outside interferes with them in, and nobody from in goes out. So we want to assure members of the community that they are well secured, and they will not pose any security threats to anybody. And then if we have to do that, we have to look at why are they even coming out, because I know probably everybody is asking, why are they surrendering now? Is it for real or not? Well, For us, the surrendering started since July 2021. And for them to have been there till date shows you that some level of commitment. And why are they surrendering? The death of Shekau has opened a lot of opportunities because Israel, while he was there, he was very brutal, and anybody who attempts to escape will be killed. We knew even then a lot of them were tired and wanting to come out. But because they were scared of him, he was a very violent person. And then the splinter group, when they splintered between ISWAP and Shekau group, that also assisted. And there was a fight between the two of them. And then when Shekau was killed, there was infighting between the Boko Haram group too for leadership. That further diminished them. And you know our nature of operations, we conduct both kinetic and the non-kinetic. The kinetic is the one that the military does by use of force. And the non-kinetic is the one that is humanitarian in nature. And that's what those two approaches were pushed together. The state government doing the non-kinetic aspect while we continue with the kinetic. And I think to them, they realized that it was foolhardy to continue with the battle because they know they can never win. And with the situation on ground, we were really itching into their enclaves. And they felt within the two evils, it's better they surrender, knowing that the armed forces of Nigeria are the professional army, and we're going to treat them professionally. By the laws of war, once your enemy surrenders, you are duty bound to receive him and treat him humanely until the process of the legal system takes its course. And that's what exactly we're doing. So I've had reasons people have complained that we're pampering them. We're not pampering them. We're just being in line with the statutory laws on ground. And that's why we ensure that all those ones that are profiled are brought in and kept and well secured until the DDRR program commences. And for now, that's where we are. And I've said over 51,000. Out of the 51,000, about 11,000 are males. And not all of them are combatants. Within the males, we have some that were enslaved, some that were born in it, and some that were conscripted. So gradually, those are going to be sorted out, and then the legal system will take its course.
Now, when you speak about sorting out, there are also another group of people. I mean, all these ones you've talked about are the ones who surrendered to your troops. But there are the other groups of people who were felled in battle. That is, that you captured them after battles. They were the result of frontline wars. Those ones are kept differently. Is that correct?
Yes, those ones are sorted out separately. And the good thing about the battle here in the Northeast is almost everybody knows, they know each other. And so it's easier to identify who are the combatants and who are the non-combatants. And surprisingly, even the combatants are not shying away from telling you what exactly they did. But in line with your question, those ones that were just captured within the battle area were equally, we sieve them out. Those ones that are not part of the combatants are sorted out separately, while the combatants are taken out and are treated separately. Those ones the legal system is taking care of. We equally provide security to ensure that they are. The Attorney General of the Federation and his legal team also are part of what is going on because they are the ones that actually sort them out. And once they do, those ones that don't have any criminal activities against them, they are sorted out and are taken out, and the state government provides succor for them, training skills, and where they are taken back to the society, while those of them that are going for prosecution are kept, and then the legal system takes its course.
I want to go back to the earlier point you made about intelligence when you were talking about the shift in focus. There had always been the discussion about intelligence gathering and that some of this host communities where a lot of these atrocities were going on, particularly in the Northeast, were either reluctant or unwilling to give information that would help the military to go after these militants. I know that I've had conversations with people who have asked the question, how is it possible for a group of people to come and take away 400 other people on motorcycles or in a truck across so many kilometers of open land, and nobody will see them, nobody will provide information about them to the authorities. So, I mean, even if you use that as the background, what is it that you have found out that has been the stumbling block, so to speak, to proper, concise, and usable intelligence being passed on to the military for action against these terrorists?
Yeah, from my experience since taking over, I've been in the theater. This is my fourth tour of duty. What I realize is that we have those that are actually tired and want this to end. And then those are the ones that are actually cooperating with the military. We have those that don't want it to end, and they cut across all stratas. Those ones will do everything to ensure that we don't get this information and then we don't act. Then we have those ones that, because they are scared, probably because of the nature of the area, and so it makes it difficult for them to want to divulge any information, because they feel any information that is given, there could be repercussions. And then again, like I said, we have family members that don't view what they are doing as being wrong. A mother has normally, for a mother that her child is one, she doesn't look at him like a terrorist. She looks at him like her own child. And so those are the various challenges we're getting. But again, the issue, like I mentioned earlier, the GSM network is not everywhere. So even if they want to pass any information, it takes time. And I can tell you a lot of people, most people are willing to give us information that will assist. And again, I want to do this clarification, because I know I've had over and over and over, sometimes people mention that a short kilometer of about 10 kilometers and troops did not respond. I tell them one of the major threats we're having is the use of IEDs, improvised explosives. These are planted on the roads, and then once you enter, it decimates the vehicle completely. And that is our greatest threat. And if you don't tread carefully, once you step on it, you're gone. And that actually delays our movement. Now, I give you an example. For the counter IED equipment that we use, we still use the normal hand products, which means if we are to cover a kilometer, the man on ground will have to go on foot. He will scan the entire 1 kilometer. And I can tell you, to cover a 10 kilometer will take you like 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours, because it is actually slow. If you make mistake and you step on the IEDs, you are gone. So our prayer and our request is, if we can have our roads to be tarred, it will eliminate 60 to 65% of the threat wave, and then the response time will be a lot better. So on the issue of information gathering, now is a lot better. Like I mentioned earlier, formerly when we started, there was no understanding on what the military was doing. And then because you are dealing with non-state actors that are not wearing uniform, it was difficult to identify who is who. And once there's an attack, and then they easily blend into the community. And then when you come in, you can't really tell who is who, because they will hide their weapons and then they blend. They're the same. But we are taking care of that, and then people are giving us cooperation all over.
The terrain, and I mean, when you reference the issue of a GSM, part of what I have learned is responsible for the patchy GSM in some parts of the area are two. The first is that the terrain is not extremely friendly, and the second is that a great deal of vandalization by the insurgents also goes on with some of these facilities. But I want to focus on the issue of terrain. Many of the hardware that the military has, the tanks, the weapons that it uses, there are those who have said to us that they are not particularly suited to the terrain in that operational area, and that it took a while for the military to get and learn to use the ones that could be. Is that true? And if so, what is it? What is the situation like now?
Yeah, you know, the terrain is desert and it's sandy. And you know, when you have a sandy environment, it makes it very difficult moving. Most of our vehicles, like the tanks, you have 30 tons, 35 tons, 40 tons. So you can imagine with them, especially the wheeled ones. The wheeled ones are the ones with tires. But the tracked ones are able to glide through all this terrain quite easily. I'm sure you're aware that quite recently, just late last year, we received a number of fighting vehicles, and that has actually enhanced our capacity. And that's why you see we'll be able to project warfare into the enclaves and camps of the insurgents. Areas where hitherto had been almost impossible to go in, and which they equally have boasted that we will never get them there, we were able to go. Just early February, where the Timbuktu Triangle, we went in all the area from Talala, from Afar, Kafa, all. We have gone in, we have pushed them out. We have opened the Maiduguri Dambua Biu Road, and then we have also moved to Sambisa Forest, where they felt was their shrine, so-called shrine, and that it was impossible to penetrate. We have gone there, we are pushed in, we're into Mandara Mountains, we're entering the Tumbus. There is nowhere, there is no hiding place for them. What goes for them is because they move light and because they are not wearing uniform, and they blend quite easily. So they follow the forests, they follow the Tumbus, and then they hide. When we move here, they try to move this way. But I can tell you, the synergy between the air, the army, and the maritime, including the civilian joint task force, the vigilantes, and the hunters, has been fantastic. And that is why we have made it so impossible for them to continue to move in large numbers. And what they do now is they go on foot, they hide, come here, try and strike. And what they are looking for, soft targets. You can imagine now that we are taking them out, they are now moving towards the northern Borno, where areas that have been quiet. They go there and look for soft targets, attack markets, attack houses, try to abduct people to make money, and then to make it impossible for us to strike because they use them as human shields. And so those are the nature of their own activities, and those are the tactics they adopt. So asymmetric warfare is a very, very delicate and difficult warfare. Most times people think, why is it taking so long? It takes so long because it's not somewhere you can just go and cap a bomb everybody. Because there are a lot of innocent people, they blend quite easily with them. So you have to be selective, you have to be professional in your approach. And that's why we have to take it quite easily.
Given that scenario, of course, I also want to then talk to you about the other bodies that you've mentioned, that you just signaled, the Multinational Joint Task Force, and then the civilian JTF. In the case of the civilian JTF, because this was an initiative of the state government, but which the military and federal authorities then bought into. Sometimes in the past, we have heard about the fact that sometimes the synergy between both is not quite the same. The military keep them back and say, look, this is a fight, you know, you are not completely prepared for this, you know, and all that. Now, given the scenario on ground, I'm wondering, I'm not a military man, but I'm wondering if the civilian JTF, if their effect is not better felt in the gathering of intelligence, information for the people who are properly trained in warfare to then use that information to go after these insurgents and to rout them in a way that is final and determinative.
I agree with you totally, and that's exactly what we're using them for. And just to curtail any excesses, they are properly profiled by the state government. They are employees of the state government. They are being paid monthly by the state government. All we did was that to give them some level of training to understand what security is, how to pass information, how to do this, and that's what we're using them for. And then they have been put into groups with the various commands at their own level. And we'll make sure that we superintend on what they do. So they are not just left on their own to do as they feel. They are being controlled, highly controlled. And they are the ones that actually give us these informations and be able to take us through, because they are the ones that know the terrain quite very well. Within the area, there are some areas we have the cattle routes, which the insurgents use quite easily. It is the civilian JTF that know these things. So they know these routes, they know how to avoid them. And I can tell you, even from the surroundings, we're getting a lot of assistance because they are tired, and I think they want this to end. So we are all putting hands in deck. Our relationship with the Multinational Joint Task Force is fantastic because the present force commander was the GOC 7 Div here in Maiduguri. We have been together for a very long time. We work very, very closely. We interchange ideas. I've been to his headquarters. He has been to my headquarters severally. We do our planning together. And what we realize is that before now, Operation Hadin will have 3 sectors. Sector 1 here in Maiduguri, Sector 2 at Damatru, and Sector 3 at Mongonu. Normally we do operations with concentrate on one sector, and then these guys easily fizzle out. But what we did this time around is that we conducted operations simultaneously, all sectors, and then coming in with the multinational joints, because once we do that, they try to thin out through the international boundaries, go to Niger, Chad, or Cameroon, where they relax, and then when we pull out, they now come back. So this time around, they have no hiding place, because once they go there, the multinational joint force will mop them up from that location. So you can see that the synergy is good. Even the air assets, the maritime assets, all for multinational and for the Operation Hadin, we worked jointly and combinedly.
Let me ask you about holding of territory, because you referenced it in your answer to the last question, which is that The military goes in with, you know, the air assets, the maritime assets, the civilian JTF, the multinational joint task force, and the insurgents run. They cross international borders and they go into Niger, they go into Chad and all of that, and then they come back when the military withdraws, which brings up the issue of how we are holding on to the territory. Because a lot of people who have been told that the areas where they were living before the insurgency is now safe, Nigeria's military has recaptured those areas, who have attempted to return home after the military has withdrawn, report back that the places are still not safe once the military is out of there. So that brings up the issue of how does one hold on to territory once it has been recaptured?
Yeah, I think we adopted a different measure this time around. Before we return them to any location, we make sure it is totally free. Free from the IEDs, because these IEDs are implanted all over. So any location, and the good thing is we have a working synergy with the state government. The governor has been remarkable in his approach and his cooperation. Now, for anything to be done, we sit down together. He tells us what are his plans, and then we look at it from the security perspective, and then we advise accordingly. Once it is agreed that they are to return to their locations, we go in there with the EOD team, with the police. And I'm sure you are aware that Operation Hadin means the Joint Task Force. We have all components of security forces. We have the DSS, the police, the immigration, custom, prisons, all. And everybody plays his role. So once we do that, we all go back to those communities, clear the environment, ensure it is safe from IEDs, from any attack. And then the state government moves in and provides infrastructure, accommodation, water, healthcare, probably school. And then once that is done and is complete, then we move them in, including, and one of our components too is the MOPOL. We have the mobile police with us. So we deploy them, including the civilian JTF, the hunters, and the vigilantes, together to provide security. And since starting from when the chief of army staff was here as the theater commander, till date, we have not had any of the locations that have been dislodged again. We have moved in. Baga is full. If you go to Baga, it's unbelievable. Goza, Mafa, Bama, all, they are fully in place, and life is going back to normalcy. We have equally opened the roads, and they are moving well. All we try to do is, because of this issue of IEDs, that's why we make sure that every morning before anybody goes on them, we go around, scan it, and clear it, so that we don't want civilians to also fall victim into the IEDs. All the locations are on. Malam Fatori, which has been a very long issue on ground, we have civilians back. The place will be fully back, I'm sure, in the shortest possible time. So I want to assure the public that we're doing the best we can, and we're working together, because this operation is for Nigeria. And I would like all Nigerians to partner, to take part in it, to take ownership of this operation. It is not the armed forces of Nigeria's war, it is a Nigerian war, because within the armed forces, every tribe, religion, village in Nigeria is represented here. And we have had casualties from all aspects, from everywhere. So I think it's important for us to always understand that this is our war.
Another area where many people talk about the fact that they posed security threats were the IDP camps, that's the internally displaced persons camps. And I know that there was some level of controversy when the Borno State government decided to close all such camps and get the people there moved back to their areas. That has gone pari passu with what you've just described, with the military clearing up those areas and ensuring that they are safe. But the IDP camps themselves, how were they being used by the militants, or how did they pose security threats to the operations? Because we knew there were quite a number of them, and I know we have on record Governor Babagana Zulum saying that when nobody's there, the IDP camps are empty, but the minute that there are NGOs coming with humanitarian aid and so on, all those people come back from wherever they went to those camps to come and benefit.
Yeah, we have a peculiarity here in Africa, especially in Nigeria. The IDPs, most times, when we have emergencies as such, unlike other parts of the world, Africans always just subsume into their family, extended family members. And that's what's happening. So the IDP camps now that have been closed down, most of them are still trying to hang around. Probably they are used to the city life, and a lot of them don't want to really go back. And the threats that we get from most of these IDP camps, again, emanates from the fact that family members are part of it. They have uncles, brothers, sons that are part of the insurgents. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the mother looks at it as her son. Her son must stay alive. So if you give her any food, she finds a way of escaping out to go and give him. You give her any medical treatment, she wants to extend that to her child. She is looking at him like her child, not an insurgent. And so those are the challenges we're having. And you know, you still have those that are still trading with those individuals, those ones that benefit. Before the fuel scarcity, a 25 liters of PMS goes for 150,000 across. If you get it across to the insurgents, anything you sell and you can get across to them, they are willing to pay almost 20, 25 times the amount. So you can see the attraction. And so a lot of people, even if they know they understand the level of threat, but because of what they will gain from it, they are willing to take that risk to go and sell. And those are the little things that keep them going. And again, some of the issues we have is the ability to trail the money. You know, ISIS is well structured. It's part, ISWAP is part of, has pledged allegiance to ISIS. So they get their funding from ISIS. And these fundings come from abroad. We don't have control over that. And that's what the Multinational Joint Task Force is also trying to do, to stop them from getting the funds across, logistics, reinforcement, because they come from outside country. And as we are aware, Libya, Mali, and all these other areas are open. And those are areas that are coming with the threat. And because we have very porous borders, they easily move in and get this support across. So those things also get into the IDP camps. But I'm happy that the IDP camps are gradually winding down. And I'm sure within the shortest possible time, they will all go back to their communities, and then we'll not have them again.
How much is small arms proliferation a problem, do you think, in this battle? Because as you just pointed out, Mali, Libya, and other countries that abut Nigeria, and given the border situation, we are witnessing that these people come in and go out, even when the army goes after them. How much of a problem is small arms proliferation, do you think? And, you know, what would you look at as a good way of tackling it from the experience you have had?
It is one of the biggest threats the country has, the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. They are all over. And because anywhere you have porous borders, those are the challenges. And then when you have forests that are unmanned, so things we need to look at is the ability to be able to establish our border control, to be able to have rangers that will take care of our forests so that they don't just leave them open. And that brings the idea of community policing. What we're doing with the civilian JTF and the hunters and the vigilantes is something somewhat of community policing. The civilian JTF are from each community, so they know the community, and then the community leaders know them, they can vouch for them. And that's when we use them. So small arms, I'm happy that there's a parastatal that has been established to take care of that. And I think it's something we should really, really look into. We have Central African Republic is open, Sudan, Libya, Mali. So it is wide. And then these arms are posing a very, very, very great threat to us.
Non-governmental organizations, either acting as humanitarian assistance bodies and so on, are all over the place in your theater of command there. And sometimes there are altercations because the military wants to know who exactly is doing what, where, and when, and with who. And the NGOs sometimes get caught in the crosshairs. How is that situation being attended to? Because some of the NGOs, as the military has said in the past, have been found to be engaged in activities that are not altogether humanitarian. So there's a dividing line between deciding who is genuine and who is using that platform for particularly dangerous activities. How are you coping with that? How are you dealing with that? How are you relating with the NGOs in your theater?
Yeah, we have the J9. The J9 is in charge of civil military affairs. We have the humanitarian officer who also engages with them. What we do is that for them to operate within the theater, they ask for permission. They seek permission from us. We want to know what activities they are doing. Before now, it was a problem because when they came with the mindset that we shouldn't know what they are doing, that we should leave them to travel wherever they feel like and do whatever. We said, no, this is a sovereign nation. We have rules and regulations, and then guided by the state. And so what they do is that any of them coming in is registered by the state. The state now writes to us to inform us, yes, these ones have been duly done. The DSS will allow them to profile them so that we ensure that they are legitimate in line with what is done. So when they come with us, and we have periodic discussions with them, almost on a monthly basis. And so they write to us to tell us what they are doing. We provide some level of security where they are moving, and we tell them where they can go and where they cannot go. Before now, it was something that actually brought a lot of tension between us. But I think we have a better understanding that we're all working for the same aspect. The humanitarians are doing some good job because the issue of feeding, healthcare, taking care of the pregnant women and especially like UNICEF for children, the ability to succeed also enhances our ability. The kinetic effort is just about 20-25% of the entire operation. Most of it, like I mentioned earlier, is humanitarian. And so once we're able to handle those aspects, it makes our job a lot easier. So we have an understanding, we have a synergy. Again, we're also watching what they do. And anyone we found that is having a different intention, I think we call them to order immediately. And so far, it has been good. We'll continue to monitor what they're doing. We've had reports here and there. We look into it, we investigate, we call the police and the DSS to do thorough investigation to ascertain the level of commitment. And so far, we've not had any issue for now.
The military is, as I've spoken to some of your colleagues in the past, the military is not completely conversant or comfortable with civil relations. They're getting into that now. So there had been allegations of some level of high-handedness and brutality on the part of the troops, especially when they encounter resistance, which may not be military. Have you experienced that? And what have the authorities, what have you been doing to ensure that your troops stay within what you described earlier in the interview as international humanitarian law, even for those who may have confronted the military?
Yes, one good thing with the military is that we don't hide criminals. Anybody and everybody knows the military law. Somehow we are bounded by two laws, the Constitution and the Armed Forces Act. So you understand that we have these two laws guiding our activities, and we hold on to those very, very seriously. The nature of our training, right from the Nigerian Defense Academy, from the depot, our training institutions, we conduct training on humanitarian assistance or humanitarian rules of law, and all. So every soldier, every officer knows what is required of him, and nobody is left in the blank. And you see, we conduct training. Even here in the theater, we have the NGOs, they always come, and then we do this training together, just to keep us abreast on what is going and what is expected of our troops. The Chief of Army Staff has established standing court martials for anybody who has committed any offense whatsoever. Goes to commercial, and everybody knows what the rule says. So nobody is left in doubt. So far, it has been wonderful. We cannot say it is 100%. I mean, when humans, even in families, we have conflicts. But what we do is that once it is reported, we have the human rights desk. We have established human rights desk with a phone number distributed all around. Everybody knows once there's anything and you think a soldier did something wrong to you and all, people call in, and then the military police steps in to carry out investigation. If it's wrong, is prosecuted. So far it has been wonderful. And I'm sure if you have time, you go around the Northeast. I think we have been living above board, and we'll continue to do that.
You talked about, a wide expanse of theater land to cover, lots of people to protect, lots of areas to get over. And we have heard in the recent past, and not so recent past, about troops being very upset at not being given arms adequate in their view to face the opponents. They talked about the opponents being stronger than them at the time. You are in a good position to actually tell us what the situation is there. Was that true? And if it was, what has changed now?
Like I said, initially when the operation started, you equally alluded to it that the weapons that were being used were not adequate for the environment. But that has been taken care of. No soldier comes to the theater without arms. No soldier comes into the here without the requisite equipment for him to use. We cannot have everything 100%, but with what we have on ground, we have been able to achieve so much, and that's what we keep on pushing. This is my fourth tour of duty. 2018, I was here as active brigade commander, Operation Last Hold. I returned in 2019 as the sector commander in charge of Mongonu. I returned in 2020, heading the monitoring, the Army Headquarters monitoring team, and I'm back here last year as the theater commander. So all I've been on the operational ground. The vehicles we have now are doing the job. The training we conduct now, even while in the theater, we carry out training. Before any soldier or officer is inducted into the theater, there is a pre-induction training. He comes in, we continue with the training consistently, even in theater training, wherever his location is. We go to the range, we conduct all this training to ensure that our soldiers remain very, very professional wherever they are. So I think to this extent, we do not have all we need, but with what we have, we can do. So imagine now we're having almost 30, 40% of what we need. Imagine if we had maybe 80 or 90, what we'll be able to achieve. But I think it's ongoing. And the truth about it is that for us to be independent as a nation, we need to produce our own equipment. As long as we rely on other people to produce what we need, we'll be held ransom. And that's what we're facing. Most times, these are equipments you can't get off the shelf. So sometimes you order them. Look at how long it took for us to get the Tucano aircraft, over 3 years. So these things are not easy. We must build our own industrial complex. We must produce what we use. And that's the only way out.
How about personnel?
Yeah, we need additional manpower. I can tell you that for free. The military is everywhere. We shouldn't be everywhere. The military is everywhere. I was one before now in 2015, 2016. I was the commandant depot where we produced soldiers I trained over 12,500 recruits, young soldiers. They are with me. Some of them are still with me here in the theater. And we need to build out capacity. We need manpower. But it is not something we rush because we have to take time to ensure we select well. We train well. We don't want to pick people that are not trainable. We don't want to pick criminals into the system. So it is painstaking for us to produce one soldier. For us to produce an officer, especially as a regular officer going through NDA, it takes 4 or 5 years. Apart from probably short service that takes maybe 6 months, 9 months and all that. So it takes a lot and it costs so much. And we are very, very careful on how and who we take in. And that's why it takes a little time. But I think what we're doing now is the last ones, the recruited ones that came out about 5,000. We have some that in a few months are going to come out. If we continue this gradually, we'll be able to build up. But again, the truth about it is that the military cannot do everything. We cannot be everywhere. No nation develops if we don't have a good police. We have a police, we need them to be properly trained to do some of these aspects. The MOPOL before now used to carry out most of what we're doing is that the MOPOL will have been able to handle some of these things. So we need to build this capacity so that we can all together put hands together to end this. And I tell you for free, asymmetric warfare is not a warfare that is not a child's play. It is serious business because it is all governmental approach. We need all hands, from the communities, from all the armed forces, from all the paramilitary organizations, from everybody needs to be part of it for it to be successful. I'm sure if you look at other countries that have gone through it, they will tell you the same.
There is a welfare issue involved in all of this because those who have said we need to look at it very carefully have also said that if you ramp up the Nigerian military in terms of numbers, then the issue of their welfare comes up. And I'm sure you are familiar with that, having had several tours of duty in that area, that in the recent and not so recent past, we have had quite a number of them complaining about unpaid allowances and salaries, and in some cases even taking their theater commander, not you, but one of your predecessors, almost taking him hostage at a point for that reason. So I wanted to find out, if the situation now is such that in terms of welfare and in terms of how the troops themselves are treated, there has been a vast improvement both in terms of their kit and in terms of their income?
Very well. I can tell you for free that we're having the best of time. There is no soldier or any officer that is owed anything. Salaries are paid as a when due. Allowances are paid as a when due. The Chief of Army Staff ensures that whatever it is that we need, remember he just left the theater. So he is an experienced general who is doing everything to ensure that the theater moves as it should. The other service chiefs are equally doing the same thing. The allowances are paid. Both every member of the theater gets his money as at when due. Sustenance and maintenance costs are also paid. We don't have any challenge on that. Feeding, everybody is fed well. Clothing, equipment are provided. If any soldier is injured, we have a medical center. The aircraft, however, it is just a few days ago, we had around Arege in northern Borno towards the Tumbus. There was a vehicle-borne IED that struck one of our MRAPs. The soldiers the Nigerian soldiers that were in were secured. The splinter, that was around 8 p.m. at night, hit one of my officers and he was injured. And a helicopter flew in that night, dropped within there, picked him up and brought him to the medical center. Nobody is left behind. And we're doing that to ensure that, because we know the importance. Nobody will sacrifice his life and then he will be abandoned. Nobody. Now, even those ones that are injured, prosthetics are provided for them. If eventually somebody pays the supreme price, the family members are taken care of. And those are done such a way that everybody's morale remains extremely very high. Sometimes there could be delays, and it is never intentional. And we know that nothing is 100%, but we assure you that everything is being done to ensure that the troops are happy. And it is only when they are happy and their morale is high that they can give us the best. And that's what we're doing. The Chief of Army Staff has equally arranged for welfare flights. Now, any soldier that is going on, officer or soldier that is going on flight, not only military men, everybody that is part of Operation Hadin, if you are going for your 2 weeks pass, there's an aircraft that will pick you up. You go for your 2 weeks pass, and when you come back, the aircraft brings you back. Those ones that are going by road are escorted and taken care of. So I think we're having the best of times now.
I must ask you this, since we are talking about that, and that has to do with when you talk about the ultimate price. Every Nigerian soldier, signs up, to pay that ultimate price. But of course, the hope is that they will not have to. So each time they do, it's quite tough. I ask you this because in your capacity as a general, you must have seen this happen many, many times in various theaters. What is it like when you lose a soldier on the battlefront, and how do you cope and move on with the military objective even when that happens?
I can tell you it is traumatic for any commander to lose his personnel. It is painful. It is heartbreaking. It is something that nobody prays for, because for you to even face the family to break the news to them, and especially during the burial, because they look at you like they've entrusted their personnel to you, and look at what has happened to them. So it's something that every commander will have to get used to, and you pray, like you said, it doesn't happen. But again, because we're fighting war, this is not drama. So it is for real. And we try to make sure that we inform the family members to understand that whoever joins the military, the ultimate price is death. And so it happens. And then we have to deal with it. And so when it happens, we get across to them, we consult them, and then the burial is arranged. The military provides everything for them, and then we make sure that the entitlements are paid, and the family members, a wife and 4 kids, are paid their school fees up till the time they are 18. So these things are being put in place. But like I tell you, for real, it is heartbreaking for you to lose any member of any of your troops.
When you have paid such a high price to secure victory in a particular area, and then those that you are fighting against move to another area, not too long ago, the commander-in-chief expressed his view that some of what is going on in the Northwest and in the North Central is as a result of those that have been fought to a standstill in the Northeast moving to those areas where they believe that things are less hot. And I ask, given the background you gave us earlier about the three operational points from which the theater command Hadin Kai operate, that would mean why that would explain why they've left that area. Is it a viable thing, you think, for the military to expand such operations in such a way that in those other areas where things are possibly less hot, they become also as hot for the insurgents?
No, very well. That is being done. That is being done as we speak. The various commanders in North Central, Northwest are equally doing the same. You know, like we said, they easily filter out. What they do is that, like when we went to the Timbuktu Triangle, a lot of them just took haircuts, dropped their uniforms, took their beds, wore their normal dresses, and just walked into towns. They go to normal park, take vehicles, and travel. You cannot see them and identify who they are. And that's what the danger of the operation, because you don't know who they are. Conventional warfare is the type that you fight against countries. You know the uniform they're wearing. But these ones, you can't tell. And because weapons are everywhere, they don't need to carry any weapon from point A to point B. They go there, they get what they are, and they're using. But I can tell you that the service chiefs are on that. The operations have commenced already quietly. We're not making so much noise about it, and I'm sure we will get over it very, very soon. It's quite unfortunate that they've moved into those areas, but I'm sure we're also taking adequate measures to address the issue.
I must ask this as my very, very final question. Do you think mercenaries would help in tackling Boko Haram and other such insurgents? Because there's a narrative that, you know, in the run-up to the elections of 2015, mercenaries were brought and they assisted the Nigerian military, and there was a great deal of success. And there are some who are, again, calling for them at this point, including some of the political leaders in the country. Do you believe that they could be of help?
Not at all. We already have enough of criminals coming from all over the country, all over the world, coming to interfere with our security. I think we've had enough of them. In the past, while they came and were able to do a bit, was because they had equipment. Now we have the equipment, and as a professional army, you know, we have been everywhere. We're in Liberia, we're in Bakassi, we're in Sierra Leone. We did so well. Why not for our own country? These equipments we have had, I've told you, we have just about 30% of what we require. We've been able to achieve this in the Northeast. Imagine if we had had like 100 or 90% of those items. So the trick is with modern equipment, especially with ICT, we go technology. Once we are able to improve on that, we will be able to do the job. We don't need anybody from outside to come and tell us what to do or how to do it. All we need is this support. Once we get these equipments we require, we are capable, we are a professional army, we'll be able to do that, and we'll be able to achieve that without having any support. And again, those ones that are coming, so-called mercenaries or military contractors, are doing it for the business, it's for the money. And the tendency when they come is, well, first and foremost, they will be very expensive. Why not use that money to fund your military? And they're here to make money. And I've told you, they have the tendency to also even prolong your wars or even create more ones so that you can continue to sustain them and continue to pay them. The best way is equip the military fully, equip the security forces fully, and we'll be able to do the job.
Major General Christopher Musa, thank you so much for your time and for your perspective on the program today. It's been good to speak with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
That's our program today. We would, of course, like to hear from you on the conversation. Our social media handles are right there on your screen. You can also listen to this and previous episodes of the program via our podcast. Please visit our website, channelstv.com, to get started. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. Goodbye.